By now, we are all aware that Russell Brand has been hit with some very heavy accusations. You've got grooming, sexual assault, and rape even. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to defend those claims or dismiss them, and I clearly don't know him or the accusers, so I can't even say that I'm overly invested in the overall outcome, other than, of course, I hope the truth prevails. Now, whether he is innocent or guilty is actually beside the point of this video. What I'm going to try to do here is explain exactly what this bombardment of accusations truly represents. Now, believe me, it is no coincidence that these are the types of allegations that have been raised, because they hit the hardest and create the most explosive, rapid response from the public. Now, we all know about his promiscuity. He's been pretty open about that over the years. He's also been open about his addictions. And at this stage, if we're being honest, we can't really say that there's any solid evidence to support the claims that have been raised. Now, he could be guilty, or it could be partially true, or perhaps all of the allegations are completely fabricated. We don't know, but one thing is clear at this stage. They are allegations. And the standard is, or at least should be, that in order to take any accusation seriously, they should be put to task through the correct processes, the justice system, a criminal case, in order to authenticate their veracity without unnecessarily stigmatizing the people that are involved or implicated. Now, the route that's been taken, or I could say the route that's been actively chosen, is the court of public opinion, which is why many people are skeptical over the entire situation. By now, most people have seen some form of trial by media gone wrong. Johnny Depp, guilty until proven innocent. Benjamin Mendy, guilty until proven innocent. Joe Rogan, smear campaign. Andrew Tate was taken off all platforms and jailed, and he's never been sentenced to anything. If the story is salacious, trust me, they will print it regardless of its authenticity, if you're the right person, I should say, or maybe wrong person. And if there's an unwanted voice, they can mute the impact of that voice by manipulating public opinion via smear campaigns, they being the mainstream media steered by their funders and the elites. Now, I know, that isn't really groundbreaking news, is it? It's quite common. This is a tactic often leveraged by MSM to demonize in order to obtain an emotive response from the masses with immediate effect without the need of thorough due diligence or evidence. Why? Because it flips the agreed standard of innocent until proven guilty on its head. And it speeds up not just the shift in public opinion, but by proxy, the recourse and consequence of such a shift. So people lose their jobs, their platforms, their notoriety, their legitimacy, you name it. It all comes crumbling down without actually being convicted of anything. Trial by media, tarnishing a person's reputation and their credibility, leaving them on the back foot, scrambling to prove their innocence, but inevitably the damage is already done. And we already see this now with Russell Brand. He's been demonetized on YouTube. He has over 6 million followers. He's been demonetized based on accusations. Now, they could be true, but they could also be false, right? What happened to impartiality? Now, I'm not trying to say that he's innocent, but at this point, with all of the lies spread on TV and in the papers, most people don't believe a thing they see, do they? So we're not just going to sit here and suck up your conclusion. The Me Too movement, that was pretty much co-opted by a bunch of women that wanted a quick payout. So we're not willing anymore to just sit here and say, believe all women, because newsflash, women lie. Now, the trouble we have in this instance is that despite quite a lengthy Dispatches episode and countless articles, we don't really get much solid evidence. We're just supposed to believe. But how can we believe the system that lies non-stop? I mean, we get accusations delivered to us by actors. You've literally paid someone to act and read an account in the most emotive way possible for engagement. How can we then judge the person's account if it's not actually them relaying it to us? Now, if these allegations are true, the fact that they've led with nothing but hearsay is appalling, especially given that one of the accusers went to a rape clinic the day after an alleged rape. This was probably the most compelling part of the overall Dispatches piece, was it not? Was there not more evidence? DNA maybe. You would think that if you've spent 4 years building this story, you would have something more concrete. What were you doing? I mean, you basically given us, honestly, an ambiguous text message and some general accounts from 4 women, 3 of which are actors. And then lots of old footage of Russell Brand taken out of context. That we know he was crude. That was his whole thing. Where's the evidence? We want more. Big claims require big evidence because we know how MSM roll. So we can't just believe your narrative because guess what? You have a history of lies and a motive in this particular case. Now, Katie Hopkins has also spoken out about the establishment's role in all of this.
Speaking out for people who disagreed with lockdowns, who see what's coming, who know that they're trying to take control away from the people. They're saying he reverse engineered this in order to try and build up a cultist following so that when all of this came out, he would have cover. I mean, if you're playing a game of top tenuous, that's about as tenuous as it gets. And the truth, because mainstream isn't that clever, The Guardian aren't that clever, is that Channel 4 heavily promoted Brand all the time that they wanted to. Now, the establishment has been looking for revenge for Hugh Edwards. They've wanted someone from our side, the side that simply wants everyone to be okay, to pick off. And so they just regurgitated old shit about Russell. They found some people willing to sit in the dark and say stuff that pretty much Russell had already fessed up to already. And now that he's a clean living guy, certainly cleaner living than I am, with a happy and stable life and a sold out tour and a successful media platform still, he has to be culled. And if there's one thing I do know about, it's being completely eviscerated from the face of the planet. That happened to me many moons ago, but perhaps, just perhaps, we've been around long enough now for other people to see what's being done. You don't have to support Russell. You don't have to love Russell. You don't have to say that there maybe haven't been a few issues in the past like there have in all of our lives. But please see what's being done to him. They want to eviscerate him from the planet, and I know it personally. They will keep coming until he swings from a tree.
He has absolutely been shining a light on terrifying, unfortunate, Orwellian truths about the establishment. And at this stage, he garners significantly more views than the establishment, right? He, in fact, probably represents an insurmountable competition for them, unless he was to disappear or be cancelled. Now, this investigation started in 2019. Funny that, isn't it? That's precisely when Russell Brand's channel started to blow up as he opposed the mainstream media, uncovering their lies and disinformation. Very convenient, right? You'd think that if you've been tracking him and pulling this case together for so long, you'd have something more solidified, nailed on him. I mean, you claim to have contacted hundreds of people, and not 100 people, hundreds of people, and you've got 4 stories. What did everybody else say? You've got 4 stories and only one person willing to go fully on record. I mean, already several people have come out to say that they were also contacted or interviewed, but because their messages were positive, they didn't make the cut. That's very balanced journalism, isn't it? So don't be fooled into thinking that MSM stand for any form of moral justice. Be assured, the only reason that they have pursued this story with such investment is because he is their competition. He is a threat to them. Where was the hour-long documentary vilifying Hugh Edwards or Philip Schofield? Funny that, isn't it? Well, no, he is a predator, or he is a groomer, but he's our groomer. It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. Now, if it's true, of course, he should be punished. But if it's not true, the papers should be sued, the women should go to prison, and all of the 200 or 300 people that are apparently still left actively absorbed in MSM should tune out, please, because it's nothing but bad news, fake news, and propaganda. Now, I guess I've made my opinion quite clear. Russell was obviously promiscuous. He likely had some pretty crazy sexual encounters, but sometimes people live to regret those encounters later on in life. Now, did he go too far? I don't know. But what's clear is that legacy media want him gone. He's shedding too much light on the establishment's agendas, pulling the public out of their grip, and the propaganda machine isn't happy. So they've scrambled to uncover dirt because they're losing power. I want to finish with the Tate brothers because they've also spoken out about this and they have quite a lot of experience with attacks from legacy media.
Isn't that interesting?
It's interesting.
So when they have a narrative, what they do is they lie by omission. Remember this. This is what the media does. It lies by omission. By omitting part of the story, they can lie. They can take a very small part of the story and present it as the absolute truth because there's no counter to the story. They lie by omission. They omitted the 296, 396, 896, however many women who said they had a very nice interaction with Russell Brand. And that's important. I'm going to explain why to you. You can have the best restaurant on the planet. You can open a beautiful restaurant and you can have 400 people come and you ask everybody, is the food good? You're telling me you couldn't find 3 who says the food sucks?
Yeah.
You could have 95% of people say this is the best food I ever had. But you'll always find someone who sits there and goes, oh, I didn't like those tomatoes. They were too red.
And if you don't like the restaurant and there is a financial incentive to speaking out against the restaurant, you are going to embellish your story. You are going to tell others that you saw a rat run into the kitchen. You are going to tell others that the chef spit in your food. You are going to embellish your lie if there is a financial incentive to do so.
That's another interesting point. So now we have a restaurant with 400 people who have gone. 396 people say the food was great. 4 people say the food is bad. And the people who say the food is bad are being encouraged financially to say the food was awful. Do you completely and utterly trust their story? I'm not saying Russell Brand's not did anything wrong. I'm not saying that rape is okay. Before I get attacked by the media, I'm not saying any of those things. I am just saying after reading the first line of the MSM attack, I already, with my professionalism, have serious question marks. Hundreds of people, and you're omitting all of the people who said positive things. That shows it's agenda-driven. That shows it is bias. Bottom line. Another thing I'd like to ask. What percentage of the population are psychopaths? 5%? 6%?
4 or 5%.
4 or 5% of the population, according to the left-wing
Mental health statistics owned by the Matrix, the people who love to push depression, all this garbage on you, they will tell you that 4 to 5% of people you meet are psychopaths who have no concern for anybody else's well-being and only care about themselves. Meaning, by extension, if you ask 200 women a story, 10 of them are going to be psychopathic. They're not going to give a shit whose life they destroy if they can benefit for a couple hundred quid. They're psychopaths. They don't care. That, by extension, that's your own statistics. And they've come out with what, 4 girls? Allegedly.
4
actresses telling 4 stories allegedly based on real victims.
Bruv. Then we add the new level. Imagine this. We have a restaurant. 400 people come. 396 say it's good. 4 people say it's bad. They say, go to the manager and say the food's bad. They say, I don't want to go to the manager. I don't want to show my face that the food's bad. They say, okay, we'll pay you money to tell a story to an actress who will pretend to be you to tell the manager the food was bad.
10 years after you eat.
10 years after you left the restaurant. You think they wouldn't say yes? Well, I ain't gonna do anything. All right, cool. Yeah, the food was bad.
Well, here's the story. One text message. Act it up.
Bruv. Joke ting.